Welcome to the Grow and Expand with S podcast, where we break through limitations, we heal from within, and we step into our most expansive, most fulfilled, and happiest lives. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode, where I have self-titled it, Becoming Woke. I'm actually super excited about this podcast episode. It came to me a couple of weeks ago, and when you feel that passion and that spark in your heart space lit up, that's something that you're obviously drawn to. And so I've been really excited about recording it today. Becoming Woke is the intent behind this podcast is to share with all of the people and all of the souls that are waking up, essentially. My husband keeps telling me my definition of woke isn't technically correct, and so be it. But this episode will tell you the intent behind how I define woke. But it's essentially meant to serve as a bit of a guiding light to those who are going through the awakening process. You can call it a spiritual awakening. You can call it a religious awakening. You can call it waking up to life, waking up to new things. It doesn't matter what word you put to it. Essentially, becoming woke to me means you start exploring in your mind something that you haven't before. Okay, so at the very baseline, we all have neural pathways and they kind of connect, and they've connected forever. And when they got formed and they're patterns and they keep going over and over and over. And it takes something for them to kind of redirect. But when they start redirecting, and I'm going to skip away from the science now, just in life, how it'll present, when your mind starts exploring other possibilities, other potential truths, other beliefs that might or might not be, or anything other than what you've taken on and run with almost on autopilot up to today, you are becoming woke. Now, there are 1,000,001 layers and stages of becoming woke. But what I want to talk about is the stage where you're becoming woke. And I also really want to explain why it's so fucking difficult to become woke and why it's so bloody uncomfortable, and lonely is the best word that can describe it, and to put some context around that for you. Because not everyone becomes woke. Not everyone wakes up. It's never our job to wake other people up, though we will try, and you're only human. When you see something, it's natural to want to share, but it's not going to land with everyone. And so let's start the kind of analogy that I have in my mind about becoming woke. So let's all picture together a minivan that can seat, let's say, 10 people. Minivan represents the world in this analogy. So the minivan is your entire world. It is all you know. It is everything you've experienced. It is everything you have seen with your own eyes, can feel, sense, touch, and guarantee from a science perspective, right? From an evidentiary perspective. That is the minivan. So if you just want to step outside of that for the moment, obviously the bigger analogy there is, as human beings, there is so much more than what we've discovered, so much more than what we know, so much more where we haven't ventured and explored. Way back when, there was different parts of the world that we haven't discovered and explored. And then where you originally were was your only world. And so then the minivan in this scenario just describes your whole world, because that's what's relevant for becoming woke, not other people's worlds, your world. And in this minivan, there's 10 people, and you're one of them. And this is the phase of becoming woke and how I like to kind of think about it. The minivan and the people in it is the only people you know. You've heard potentially from some of the people in this van that there's other vans, but the relationships you've built, the safety you've sought, the connections you've had, the love that you've received, the hate and pain that you've received, the whatever it is limited to these other 9 people in the van. Okay, so when the van is your whole world and these people are your only connection into safety, connection, love, being seen, heard, mirrored back at, Like, obviously, the intensity and the value you put on these people is magnificent. And then there are some of us in this life that will start, something will happen, and you will get to a point where you start going, you know, these 9 other people. I've heard mum say this. I've heard dad say that. I've heard my brother and sister do this, and, maybe uncle, auntie, grandma, mother, whatever. But something doesn't feel or sit right with me. Something energetically, emotionally, intuitively, knowingly, pick whatever word you want to it, your inside knows it's not marrying up. And so you kind of start to then get to the spirit where you get a bit curious about it. And say that thing centers around the topic of how the car operates. So let's just say everyone has always said this car operates from a mechanical system at the front, the bonnet. And you're kind of like thinking, it just doesn't make sense how they say it. And I've sensed my own little things in how the car runs and stops, and, what I've sort of just sensed and experienced in different little ways, that doesn't add up to me, that's a mechanical system operating from there. It doesn't really make sense to me. And I'm thinking, for these reasons is why it kind of doesn't make sense. And then I'm putting kind of this thought bubble or this experience into it now, and then that really doesn't also make sense. And how do they really know? Because have they ever got out and checked? Yep, and this is the moment. So this is the moment. So, like, you've thought about it enough to then kind of go, I'm going to brace this with someone else in the car. I was brave in allowing myself to even question and consider different possibilities. That's already brave. So it's the brave person that becomes woke. It takes bravery, for sure. I'm going to be so brave. I'm going to ask, like, it's bugging me enough. It's on my mind enough. I'm feeling passionate enough about it, or potentially just painful enough in this fucking van. They're telling me I can't get out because if I get out, this will happen, that'll happen. I shouldn't check. I can't check, whatever. But I want to find out if there's more or different to what we've all believed. Maybe that will lead to us coming up with a better way of running the car. Maybe we can get further. Maybe it can be more pleasant in this car. Maybe it'll change our experience. Like, who knows, whatever. And you open your mouth and you ask other people. Like, when they say things to you that doesn't make sense, you challenge those. And what you get back is, okay, we're naturally human beings that want to share. So when you then share that, challenge their thoughts, challenge their notions. But where did you learn that, Dad? And why do you say that's true, Dad? And then the wrath, the blocking, the invalidation that you get back hurts. So for a little bit, you'll go back into your box. Okay, can't do that. These 10 people or 9 people are the only reality I know. This is the only reality I know. They're telling me it's amazing. They're telling me it's the best it can be. They're telling me it's what I deserve. They're telling me it's the way. I can't risk losing them. I can't risk, and like your nervous and fear system just goes into overdrive, and for a little bit, you'll go back into your box. But here's the thing about people who go woke, become woke, wake up. The pull never, ever, ever goes away. You either know how to channel it in a way that is much more easier and in flow and expansive and fun. I find the journey fun. Or, you resist it and it's still there, but it just causes more pain. So then after a while, you're back in your box and you're thinking, nah, fuck it. No, like there is definitely, like now I've heard 4 or 5 more things. I've read a little bit. There's a book here that talks about other cars. And I've read this book and I've, looked at this and no, something's not matching up here. So you speak out again. And here's the thing. Safety is found through the known and the familiar and the predictability. So as a baseline, not everyone is going to be brave enough or to be courageous enough or have the desire to go outside of that. They're going to perceive it as a threat to their safety. Full stop. And if you're not wired like that, if your safety is more found in better solutions and other answers and something you can actually believe in over predictability and known, you're at odds with who they are and how they operate. And nobody's right or wrong, but it's difficult for the person who's in a car with 9 other people that are operating and wired in a certain way and they not. And so then when you, let's say, speak out again or you question again because you're activating the fear in the rest of the car, the 9 other people, because they hear you, right? Whether they say it, whether their person says it or acknowledges or not, they hear you. They have probably thought the same things and just blocked it off sooner. They've wondered the same things and blocked it off sooner. They also know something, but they've probably just disconnected from that to survive in this van. And so when you, as a person, then start speaking about that, you're triggering those original parts of them about the entire what else possibility. And all of a sudden, you're igniting their fear response. And instead of them regulating and understanding things that I'm not going to go into now, they project it out onto you. And again, you're heard. And again, you're the black sheep. You're the too much. You're crazy. You're woohoo. You're, what did someone call me once? A stargazing, navel blazing kombucha drinker, which I've never even drank kombucha in my life. Anyway, so like they are just projecting it out at you in such a way from their fear that you are activating because a part of them has the same truth as you that they project onto you, and it is the most loneliest, most painful, sad, shit place to be. To be the person in the van that wakes up, or that thinks different, I should first say, that thinks different, that connects into their own intuition and their knowings and their energies more than the brain like the rest of them, that has a greater sense of bravery and courage than the rest of them. It is so lonely and isolating. And what happens, however many years that lasts between the person trying to convince the other people in the van, that period can cause so much harm and damage. And that can manifest for us, those who wake up, in such a really big wounded way. Wounds around whether we're worthy, whether we're good enough, whether we belong. But you never feel that belonging because on a real level, they're not meeting you where you're at. And so belonging happens in that space. And it is just, that's the birth of this podcast episode. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are other vans out there. There are so many other vans out there. And every van has a person that wakes up. Every van has a person that wakes up. And so there's a great sense of comfort in that when we can zoom out of the very finite picture of what we've just got right now. But anyways, then let's say this person is like, picks which one they think is the most likely. They'll do this intuitively. Which one do they think is most kind of likely to, believe them, and kind of chips away at the person. And so that person, they can see they want to, they can see they believe it, they can see, but they just can't kind of muster up that courage. And then one day, you waking up will go, fuck it. We've stopped at the fuel station. I'm getting out. And I am going to open the trunk, or not the trunk, what did I say? The front bit, whatever you call it. And I'm going to check whether that engine is the way in which it was described to me. Because everything we believe in how we operate this vehicle and deal with each other is based on that. And I want to know. I want to know more than I don't want to know. And obviously that engine represents the beliefs we hold in our mind. It represents the limiting beliefs that we hold in our mind. It represents core wounds that we hold onto. It represents the stories that we tell ourselves as individuals about what is and isn't possible. And it represents the entire matrix of what our belief system and consequently our actions in how we operate that car is based on. And so this person goes, nah, like I don't give a fuck. Every single other person in this van, I have a deeper calling. I have an unfulfillment here. I've got an empty space in my kind of like, I don't know, solar plexus is the energetic word for it, but like in my belly. This isn't doing it for me. I want more. I feel more. I'm craving more. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out. And you bravely, with so much fear. Anyone who's gone through this part will know the fear I'm speaking about. It's like your legs are shaking. Your hands are shaking, but you're like, I'm doing it. I'm getting out. And you get out of that van and you open that fucking trunk. And it's like, there is not one engine, not two engines, but 3 engines. And every engine has its own operating system, but only one's connected, only one's live. And this one looks different to this one, and this one looks different to this one. And obviously what's opening up here for you in your mind is the other potentials, the other beliefs, the other opportunities, a different way that you never ever knew. Okay, so you are exhilarated because you were right. So this part is what allows every person who becomes woke to continue. They only get woker and they don't become unwoke. Okay, you can't go unwoke because you've opened, you've looked, you know, right? So that exhilaration in no matter the ridicule from the others in the car, no matter the denials from the people in the car, no matter the attempts of the people in the car to quash me, no matter the certainty in which they said it, no matter what, I believed and I was right. And that is exhilarating. It is empowering, and it gives you an inner connection that trumps any external connection you will ever have. And it is so exciting. And then comes, oh, fuck, now I know. What can I do with it? Because I've got a car full of 9 people who don't believe, don't want to believe, don't want to look, don't want to open the bonnet. They are going to continue to run this car, and I can already see 6 opportunities here for happier, more love, more laughter, more connection, more joy, less hurt, less pain, less breaking, less disconnect. But now I'm going to have to get back into a vehicle that refuses to look and see at it, and I won't be able to run the vehicle on my own in these better ways because obviously you need consensus. And so that part of the journey then becomes less fucking expansive and empowering and joyful and happy, right? Like you're exhilarated because of that inner knowing and self-trust and the reveal. But then it's like, what now? But at that stage, you still have a lot of hope. You're like, now I know. Now I know. Because I've gone, I've opened, I've looked, I was brave, I led the way. I know. I'm now simply going to walk back into that van and tell them, and they'll definitely believe me. Of course they're going to believe me. I went. They love me. They've been with me for 30 years in this one van. They know me inside out. They're going to know. And so you go in and you tell them, oh, and it's not a fun ride. Like I can laugh now because I've made it through to the other side, but that period is not a fun ride because not only are you, from a brain, nervous system, emotional, energetic perspective, still catching up on the new things you've learned, trying to make sense of it, trying to make sense of the enormity of it, what it means and how it makes you feel and what it could mean for you, for your van, for all the vans, and all from a place of love and connection and goodness. You also tell people this and they fucking hate you for it. They hate you for it. Because now you are activating their fear times 20. Times 20. Because they do know you. Because they do love you in their way. Because they have lived with you for 30 years. Because inside of them, they already know the truth and always have, but they've toned it down and blocked and rejected it. And so now you are igniting something in them that feels so overwhelming because they're not doing it themselves. That is not a fun period. And everyone will learn their lesson in their time and in their way. But there will be a period where you try to get every single person in that car to believe you, to say that they believe you, because you know they believe you. You can energetically know they know, because it is. And you only know because you knew, so they know. They know you know. So it will give you, these are the only people you've ever known. It's what you've built your entire world around. However long every person spends in that van trying to convince, argue, yell, love, compassion, whatever you want to bring to it, you will maneuver it until you've maneuvered it enough, in enough angles, ways, shapes, and forms where you go, where you know the truth I'm going to tell you now. You cannot wake anyone up unless they are ready to wake up themselves. Full stop. They won't be able to hear you at the level required to activate enough to get moving if they are not ready. And you will get exhausted by it, and your wounds will get inflamed by it, and you will be sad and further rejected and further in pain and further abandoned and further quashed down. And before you know it, you think you didn't see what you saw. Was it a dream? Like, guaranteed. The more you stay there, you ain't changing anyone. You might see those moments in their eyes where you can see they know, but that's it. Tomorrow gone. And you will then be left with more pain than you started, quite frankly. Because now you know, and you know, and you also know the possibilities. So that's the thing. You know the possibilities. Okay, you've seen the possibilities of what that could mean, and it's something that we're wired to want to chase, to move towards, be pulled towards. Chase is probably not the right word. Because pleasure feels good. That's why people choose instant pleasure over long-term pleasure. And they can't do the instant pain for the long-term gain. And then from here on, that's up to everyone. Because some people will stay in that van no matter what. Because the life that's there for them is what they choose over anything else. And that is beautifully okay. Beautifully okay. I can't speak to that and what that looks like and feels like after 5 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 8 years, 12 years, 50 years, by the time you've had your own kids. I can't speak to that because I didn't. So I don't know. But it's okay, and it's your choice, and there is no right or wrong. So like, they are not wrong for not listening. You are not wrong for knowing more and following your heart. And it's just a disjointedness and a disconnect. My true fundamental firm belief is, as a collective, if you zoom out overall, whilst there might not be right or wrong, there is a better way, a higher standard from a place of love, of healthiness, of connection, of joy and happiness. And it's our civic responsibility as leaders to obviously shine the light on it and guide there, particularly if we're parents. But you're not wrong for not doing it because you don't have my makeup. But for me, that would be against my core values and firm belief system. And so other people will kind of have broken through to one or two others in the van. And like at night, they've snuck out with you and you've opened it up and they've seen it. And they're like, I've seen it. Okay. But you're kind of ahead of the journey with them because you've processed more than they have. And so when you all go back into the van, they're in that first stage where they still think they can convince people. So you're waiting for them to catch up. And so it's a whole dynamic. But there is this point where you decide, or can decide, I should say, and where I decided that this van served a wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, amazing period in my life. It served me, full stop. But I reached a point where I woke up to the unhealthiness that was going on in the van, where I could see the hurt, even though everyone was brushing over it, where I could see the overwhelm, even though everyone was downplaying it, where I could see the pain and the disconnect to those younger than me, to the children in the van, because they're not conditioned yet. They're still learning. So when they get hurt and experience pain, it's just that organic, raw pain you can see. And where I went, it's gotten me to here, and I will forever acknowledge and honor it and love it. But I cannot take the van with me because I've tried. God knows I've tried. I will die trying. And so either I choose to go in search of another van, and maybe there's others like me that has their own vans. And maybe we've evolved past vans. And I'm either going to take that leap in search of it, or I'm going to start my own fucking van. Option. But I know what my heart is seeking, just like I knew that engine was different. I know what my heart is seeking. And I'm going to choose my knowing and my heart over the van. And you leave. And it doesn't mean you don't visit. And it doesn't mean there's no more moments of connection. And it doesn't mean there's no more trips together. Those stories we tell ourselves, it means none of that. It's just a new chapter and it looks different. And it's phenomenal. And it gets so much better the quicker you know the tools and how to kind of navigate through it and move through it. And so for anyone who can feel this at the depths of their soul level, go seek the other vans that is in alignment with you. Go seek the other seekers. Go into communities where they speak your language. And if you can't find them, create your own and they'll come. And that's a really, really, really big piece and takeaway. And use your discernment. That inner knowing will guide you through the whole thing. Learn to work with it. Learn to understand it. Strengthen the relationship, because you'll find another van that's also woken up, but then how they're operating their van isn't in alignment with you. And then you don't want to be the person that thinks, oh, but this is the difference and I've got to stay here, and then you're miserable for another 10 years. You want to go, discernment, this is different, they have progressed, but it's not right for me. I'm going to keep walking until I find that spot that's right for me. And so I really hope that this has resonated with you and that this has given you kind of the context and the connection and the community that you need at this stage or age of your journey. And please, please, please like the podcast, because the more likes we generate, like the more it spreads, the more it climbs up on the rankings or whatever, the more people can hear it. The more people can not feel so alone. The more people can learn from it and find that connection and the answers that they seek. And it's so incredibly important, because it's so isolating to be the person that doesn't have that, is looking for it, and is invalidated by others and then even themselves at the end of the day. So thank you so much for joining me on my podcast episode today. It was so great. I really enjoyed this one and sharing that with you. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I'll see you during the next podcast episode. All of my love. Ace.